So here you can see the axis, and when I press enable operation, the axis starts turning.
Welcome to our ctrlX World Deep Dive session. I'm here with Stefan from SEW-EURODRIVE. Stefan, happy to have you with us.
Hi from my side. Thanks for the invitation, Michael. Glad to be here. So today we're going to talk about the SEW-EURODRIVE Connector app, which we deployed in the ctrlX OS store. My name is Stefan Schmitt. I'm a product manager for Edge software at SEW-EURODRIVE. The core products of SEW-EURODRIVes are gear motors, industrial gears, and frequency converters. And because of that, we have a pretty wide knowledge in the Edge.
You have a very good market share with the geared motors, right?
So in the past few years, we were number one in gear motors and number two in industrial gears, and our frequency converters are on number 8. And so with this really wide know-how, we know a lot about doing motion in the shop floor and automation in motion. So you can find our gear motors in many applications of our customers. So our customers are OEMs, mechanical engineering companies, and sometimes end customers as well. And they use our products to make motion, to make automation. And that's one big reason why we want to be compatible with an automation platform like the ctrlX World. Today we are here, and our app is about to make our frequency converters and with all the connected motors and gear motors compatible with the ctrlX World. So being a part of your automation system.
You are going to be compatible, or you have an app for ctrlX OS, our operating system, which runs on our ctrlX core controllers. So you are part of the ctrlX World Partner Network, and we are very happy to have you. Especially at such a famous company like SEW-EURODRIVE. Can you give me some typical application of those geared motors? I have seen them, for example, transportation in transportation belts, right? In beverage industry, in logistics, right? So where do we find them typically?
So actually, there's no industry we are not part of. So
that's cool.
basically, you can find our gear motors, our frequency inverters in almost every industry you might find in the world. So sometimes we do our own applications like automation systems, like electrified monorails. You can find in the automotive area, but also let's call it easier applications like standard conveyors, like belt conveyors at the airport or something. So you can find them almost everywhere.
So basically, everybody has been in touch somehow indirectly also with the SEW-EURODRIVE product. So what kind of challenge are you solving with your app? So what was the trigger point to create this app?
Well, to be honest, our strategy and our vision is to become best in digital integration. So we are so automation gets more and more digitized, and our challenge is to be the best in digital integration, which means for us to join as many platforms you can find. And ctrlX automation is one of the biggest platforms we could find. And it was like an easy step to entry this platform. And we think it's a big opportunity because you have many customers out there. They have a need for excellent drive technology. And especially there's parts of drive technology you don't have on your own at Bosch Rexroth that we have. So we can pretty much fit in your system. And so this was one of the main reasons to take part on your platform.
Stefan, what's it all about? Tell us about your app in the ctrlX OS store.
Here's a short description of what's the advantages and the targets of our app. So the target is to connect our modular automation system, MOVI C, to your platform. And basically, it's about parameterization and manual testing of our inverters or combination of inverters and motors. Yeah, going to show that. And what's a special thing is the diagnosis and the error interpretation. So we can interpret all the errors of our axis of the Gen Z. We call it Gen Z, the MOVI C automation system. And we can translate them in German and English so far, and which is a pretty big benefit for commissioning. And maybe here a short view on the topology of how we connect to the ecosystem. So let me zoom in. So most of you guys know the ctrlX ecosystem drawing, the architecture drawing. And when you have a close look on the ctrlX OS device in our case, it's a ctrlX Core, it's a X3. And so what we use for our app is the ctrlX OS EtherCAT Master and our app in combination. So we use the EtherCAT Master to connect to the field bus system. And in the field bus, there's our drives connected. So we have basically two kind of drives in this case. Our decentralized drives, they have the inverter box connected to the drive, to the gearbox, to the gear motor immediately. And we have our cabin control drives where you can connect several motors and gear motors. And so we just want to show that they are all compatible in the same manner now. And of course, you could also connect ctrlX drives still to your network.
Yeah, and this is what we find at customers, that they are using maybe some of our drives, some of your drives to all together via EtherCAT. Yeah, that's the combination. Where can the actual app be found? I think I know that there's a link on the same page, but since you are sharing, you need to go there.
Yeah, I will. When you scroll upwards again, you can see the link to the ctrlX OS store. And when you click the link, then you will land on the ctrlX store side of our SEW-EURODRIVE connector. And here's some further description about our app, some detailed view about the topology again. And what you can also do here is submit a request. So if you're interested in using an app like this, you can submit a request here, and then we will get your customer request and hopefully some requirements for our app, so we can work on and make it even better.
And finalize it in the future. So for now, demo applications can be completely done. And
of course.
We would like to finalize it together with customers in the next month.
Yeah, by now you can use it in a project manner. So we're pretty open to do that. And to make it a real product, we look for more lead customers to give it like little more functionality and make it much better so you can use it in your daily business as well.
Okay, that's enough marketing. Stefan, let's dive into the software. And let's start. What are the actual benefits?
So here you can see the standard web interface of the ctrlX OS.
We are here on a ctrlX Core controller, right? In the web interface, just to give some orientation to the viewers. Okay.
We use a ctrlX Core X3 here and deployed our app on that controller. And we connected one of our drives to the controller.
Okay.
Exactly. So here you can see the SEW connector. Let me click on it. Here you can see the web interface of the SEW connector. And as you can see, here's the landing page starts with a device list. And on a device list, you can see there's a drive of us. So let me select it. And here's a little device passport with a physical address, the device name, vendor ID, and stuff like that. So you have kind of an overview of every single device which is connected to the EtherCAT bus. What we can do here is go into a manual operation mode. I'm now connected to the drive, and I start the manual operation mode. The first thing you see is there's a warning. What could happen when you start a manual operation with a drive, which is probably used by any other application, because we're talking about a field bus connection using the CIA 402 standard. So let me click it away. And what you can see here is a list of control words and status words, which is kind of the basic thing of the CIA standard. Any commissioning and automation engineer might know what we can see here. And I can now pre-select some typical modes of the CIA standards. Let me start with the profile velocity mode. And now the control words, they got a meaning. So it's more like just setting the bits or bytes in structured text. So now here you have a visible interface where you can see, okay, which state is the axis in. So let me just click through the state machine of a CIA standard. I won't explain that because it's kind of a standard thing. So now you can see the axis is ready. So ready switch on and switched on. And now I can enable the operation. And now the relays of the axis are activated. And here we can see the first thing. There's an internal limit active. So let me maybe try to fold reset, which won't work. Here we go. So I have to write the target values. The default value was 0. And so now I gave the axis some target values it could work with. There was no limit active anymore. So the default was resetting automatically in this case. So now here you can see the position and the velocity of the axis changing. So here you can see the axis, and when I press enable operation, the axis starts turning now. And so let me disable the operation again. What is a big benefit of this now? So here you can access the whole system in a manual mode. So you can support your commissioning with nice user front end. So you know exactly what's the current position right now, what's the current velocity, and you can see the state, which is really important. So it's not just like bits and bytes in the structured text. Maybe I show you something else, which is super cool. So here we go to the profile position mode. Many of the application engineers might know the mode. So you can set a target position. Let's make this one a little bigger. Let's say 1 million. And now enable the operation. So access is ready right now. And in the position mode, you have to give a new set point, and the change immediately command is recommended. So I give a set point now, and let's see what happens. So the axis starts turning and turning to a specific position. This is pretty cool. So you can just like for phase 1 position and move the axis there, which is a super commissioning support in this case. What you can also do, of course, is like when you do the primary things, you can home the axis. So let me maybe stop the positioning mode. Didn't reach it. Let me go to the homing mode and set the current position as the new standard position. So it's like setting position to 0 in this case. And when you now go to the position mode again, you can give a new target position, trigger the set point again, and now the axis is turning to the target position. And you can see it stops at the exact right position. So here's a little toggling for the increments, which is standard thing. And what you can also do is like changing the increments to rotations. But most of the application engineers, they used to use the increments. And this is what all is about. So it's about focusing on the application engineer. We could have done a state machine by clicking one button, but that wasn't the plan. So our plan was to get the real thing with a nice user front end. And that's what we actually did. What we also have is an error memory mode. So when I started up the axis, there was the reference missing. And so here you have a history about the last few errors and warning. They were active at the axis. And yeah, this one's pretty obvious. You have to reference drive. But this is also pretty much a pretty big benefit, because when you make a commissioning of an application, of a motion application, a really big thing is that specific axes of specific vendors, they have their own error codes. And to interpret them, you have to have the handbook, you have to have a manual where you can have a look at what does this mean. And here we have a translation for all the errors that are possible at our Gen Z axis, which is pretty cool. So you can connect any axis of our MOVI C automation kit, and you can translate every single error you can have. So this is a big advantage for commissioning.
Pretty nice, Stefan. Yeah.
I think so. Especially the user front end looks pretty good.
First, to think about who's using my application, and the application engineer having in mind what does he need right in the moment. Yeah, for example, in the commissioning phase. And of course, I also like your best-in-class digital approach to integrate in all the ecosystems and to offer the customer the best, let's say, digital experience with your products or in combination with your products. So here we are on the same mission somehow, to support the customers, to be open, also to work together with companies maybe that have little overlap in the portfolio. The target is having the customer in focus with this. So really cool, Stefan. Thank you for presenting the SEW-EURODRIVE Connector for ctrlX OS. And we are looking forward to more applications coming from you in the next future, and customer projects using this real cool app in an actual application. Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah, you're welcome.